Howdy guys, my name is Wokalili and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about what it's like to work in public accounting from my perspective, a first-year audit staff. I'm going to be talking about things like the amount of hours that I work, the pay, interacting with clients, and just general expectations when it comes to working in public accounting. At the very end of this video, I'm going to be telling you whether working in public accounting is worth it or not. So if you're interested in knowing that, definitely stay tuned. My name is Wokalili. If you guys are interested in this type of content, definitely consider liking this video so that YouTube can recommend other videos like this to you in the future. And also please consider subscribing to my channel since I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. And if I can get there, it would be greatly appreciated. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Alrighty guys, so the first thing that I want to talk to you about is the amount of hours that you will be working. Yes, when I ask people, this is probably the biggest question they have. And in fact, it is usually the biggest turnoff that people have when it comes to public accounting. If you're working during busy season, you are going to be expected to bill a client about 50 to 55 hours per week. What that means for you is that you'll be spending extra time for administrative tasks. Think things like emailing your coworkers or maybe emailing HR for whatever type of issues you're running into. Those type of hours are not billable. So basically, if somebody tells you you're gonna have to bill 50 to 55 hours per week, it really means you're working about 60 to 65 hours per week on any particular week. Public accounting firms have different busy seasons depending on what area of public accounting you work in. As an audit staff that works mostly on commercial clients, meaning on your traditional kind of businesses, not governmental, not anything else, my busy season runs from the beginning of January up until the end of April. So during this time, I am super busy. I am working about 60 hours per week, which makes it very difficult to schedule personal time off or even do my own personal hobbies, like film YouTube videos or hang out with family, that type of thing. Now it is manageable. You will have to treat your time more like on a military schedule where you're like waking up and every hour on the hour is sort of planned, right? If you waste time, you will feel it and you will have to sacrifice something that you love. Otherwise, you gotta keep a really close track of the amount of hours that you're spending on whatever it is you're doing. That way you still have time to do things like work out or visit family, that type of thing. Since we are in a post-pandemic era, a lot of the work that you will be doing will be remote. From time to time, you will have to travel to a client. Depending on what firm you work for, you might travel to clients that are nearby or clients that are far away. Depending on that, just make sure you understand that sometimes, especially in the audit field, it is required for you to travel. So that will be additional time spent, not calculated usually in the amount of hours that you're required to bill. Alrighty guys, so the second thing I'm going to want to talk about is pay. Now, once again, I am a first-year audit staff, so I'm just starting off straight out of college. I graduated from California State University, Los Angeles last May, so I am really kind of still very much within the first year. Now, this will vary depending on where you are geographically speaking. For me, I have a base salary of $71,000 plus bonuses, which aren't super high or anything like that. If you want to guesstimate, I'm not done with my first year, so I actually don't know what my first year income is going to be, but I estimated it to be anywhere between $75,000 to $80,000. Now, this does vary depending on what firm you work for and what geographical location you're working in, but I know that from speaking with other accountants, it doesn't vary by more than a couple $1,000s. If you're in Southern California and you're getting offered anything less than $70,000 at this point in 2023, I would reconsider, maybe negotiate, maybe look for another firm, unless you really love the firm. But just keep in mind that your base salary will determine future raises and it will make a great impact to you financially throughout the course of your career. Okay, so the third thing that I want to talk about is client interaction. Now, client interaction is something that you will learn as you go. You will develop the soft skills the more experience that you have, but it's definitely helpful to have some soft skills coming into this job, knowing that you will have to call clients, you will have to email clients, you will have to interact with them in person. So even if you've worked, for example, at a call center or even just worked as a cashier at a store somewhere or worked as a part-time employee, at an amusement park, anything like that, anything that allows you to interact with people, that will benefit you greatly because not knowing how to interact with people can definitely hold you back. Now, of course, you're not going to be doing any sort of major interaction. You're not going to be expected to talk to clients about complex accounting issues or anything like that. At this point, it's well understood that you're still learning, and most of the talking is going to be done by the managers and the seniors, so you don't have to worry too much about it. But just keep in mind that you will have some client interaction, and sometimes in the auditing field especially, you will have some dicey conversations that happen in terms of like there will be some contention going on between the audit firm and the clients. Just keep that in mind, make sure you always keep it professional, and just keep in mind that you will eventually have to be the one that carries these more complex conversations over the length of your career. So make sure if you are thinking about going into public accounting and you have a part-time job, think about maybe focusing on the soft skills that you can gain in that job. So if you're working as a cashier, for example, maybe kind of get a little bit more comfortable talking to people. If you work at, for example, a call center, obviously you probably already have a lot of soft skills since you're talking to people all day, but just keep that in mind. You will have to use those throughout the course of your career. Okay, so the fourth thing that I want to talk to you guys about is the turnover rate at public accounting firms. It's no secret that high turnover rates affect pretty much every accounting firm, and that's for a couple different reasons. Number one, again, going back to my first point, you will be working long hours. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people can't keep up with that. And in fact, it's normal to feel like you're burnt out because at the end of the day, you can only work those many hours for so long. There will come a time in your life, well, when you're gonna get older, you're gonna get a little bit tired. So working that schedule is not going to be super realistic. So expect a high turnover rate. I know, for example, from my experience, and I've worked at more than one accounting firm, so this is coming from my experience at 2 different accounting firms. Turnover is high. People work there for 2 to 3 years and then they move on to a more normal job, for example, working in public industry. So that way they have a more traditional schedule, like 40 hours a week, and they don't have to worry about not having a life. They can kind of do something on the side, maybe focus on family, pursue other hobbies, etc., instead of dedicating your entire life basically to public accounting. High turnover rate is definitely something that you will notice. Now with this comes a little bit of advice that I've learned even just in the last couple of months that I've been working at my current firm. And that is, take advice from people with a grain of salt. High turnover rates basically mean that a lot of the people that you'll be working with haven't really been there for that long. So keep that in mind, right? It's one thing to get advice and it's another thing to get great advice. Sometimes you get advice that is not great. Sometimes you get advice that is coming from people that are less experienced, and maybe they're more experienced than you are, but they're not really that experienced in the big scheme of things. So you're gonna wanna consider that when taking advice. If you ever want to take good advice, make sure you're getting it from somebody who has been in the industry for at least 4 years. Anything less than that, really, maybe keep it to a minimum, because I've definitely been a victim of getting bad advice from people who think they know what they're doing, but they don't really know what they're doing. They just think they do. So just keep that in mind, guys. There will be a lot of new people working alongside you. So just make sure that you understand that not all advice is good advice. For my final thoughts, is public accounting worth it? It depends. It depends on what your career goals are. So let me break it down a little bit more. Public accounting is sort of known to be a boot camp of accounting, if you will, especially if you work in audit. Now, if you work in tax, it's also a boot camp, but you're gonna be more so on the tax side. So you're gonna be more so stuck on the tax side of things. You're not really gonna be able to venture out too much because your knowledge is not gonna lie in the trenches of doing day-to-day accounting. It's gonna be mostly doing accounting as it relates to taxes. So you're gonna be doing a lot of adjusting journal entries to take things from book income to tax income, which might vary. You'll be doing a lot of that, but you won't be doing a lot of things like your day-to-day type of, revenue detail testing, debt testing, that type of thing. You're not gonna be really in the know when it comes to sort of like more complex accounting issues outside of tax. So when it comes to audit, you will kind of have more of a boot camp experience where you're gonna be auditing a lot of different companies and you're gonna learn a lot of different ways on how companies do things. So you're gonna be learning all the different ways that companies do things, all the different ways that they arrive to their financial statements. I know for me, it's been less than 1 year and I've already worked with a variety of different companies and different industries. So I've been exposed to different methods of accounting, companies that have inventory, companies that offer services, companies that have deferred revenue, companies that recognize all the revenue at one point. So you kind of get the idea. You're exposed to so much, and not only that, you're expected to audit these companies. So you're learning a lot. That means that once you spend 3 to 4 years in public accounting and you're looking for your next gig, you're gonna be better versed in the ideas of accounting, and you're gonna have more options when it comes to where you wanna work. If you feel really comfortable working for a company that has inventory and you're used to that kind of accounting, maybe you can choose one of those. If you are more comfortable with a company that offers services and maybe they defer their revenue, maybe you find a job in that area. So what I'm trying to say here is accounting really does serve as a boot camp. And if you're looking for a long career in accounting, if you're aspiring to be a controller one day, maybe even a CFO, that's a kind of a different video there. But if you're kind of looking to be more of a upper level accounting person, basically, public accounting is a good way to get started because again, it's sort of like a boot camp. For me, is it worth it? I think it is worth it. Now, don't get me wrong. Do I like the hours? No. Do I think they're too much? Definitely. Do I want to do this forever? As of right now, not really. But the thing is, if you are willing to get through this, you will learn a lot, and that's the most valuable thing. If you're working for a private industry, if you're working for a private company, not a public accounting firm, just a company, you're gonna learn one way to do things, right? If I had started as a level 1 accounting person at whatever private company, I would have learned, number one, they probably would have sectioned me off to do only one thing. So for example, is maybe I am an accounts payable specialist and all I do is accounts payable and that's it. And then even more so, even if I do advance within that company, I'm only gonna learn how they do accounting. I'm only gonna learn that method of accounting. Versus now, I'm learning all the different methods of accounting, and I'm being exposed to all the different software, all the different ways that these companies do things. So when it comes time for me to go to the next step a couple of years from now, I will be better versed and I'll have more options available basically. If you greatly value work-life balance, then maybe I would think twice about going into public accounting because I'm not gonna lie, I think public accounting firms have done a better job at managing time and having more work-life balance, but at the end of the day, there's only so many people that have to get the projects done. So that means that even if you are scheduled for 40 hours a week, but for whatever reason, the project just isn't moving and you're responsible to deliver it, guess what? You're gonna be the one doing the work. So it's kind of like going to school, right? You get a couple of assignments and you're not necessarily given a schedule, you just have to finish them. And if you finish them, great. If you finish them in a short amount of time, that's amazing. But most of the time, it's gonna take you longer than you think. So you're gonna be spending all those hours because at the end of the day, you have to turn in the project at the end of the semester. So it's kind of like along those lines. It's more of a, as long as you get it done, it's okay, but sometimes to be realistic, you're not gonna be able to get it done in a short amount of time. So you will be working overtime, especially at the beginning when you don't know as much and you're kind of like trying to figure things out. Maybe something is gonna take you an hour rather than like 20 minutes that it would take a senior because you simply just don't understand the fundamentals. Alrighty guys, so just to recap, we talked about the hours worked that you should expect to be working at a public accounting firm. We went over pay and what you should expect. We went over interacting with clients. And finally, we talked a little bit about high turnover rates in the public accounting industry. So if you have any questions on that, definitely let me know. I definitely want to hear your thoughts. If you currently work at public accounting, let me know, how do you like it? If you have worked in public accounting in the past and you left, let me know, why did you leave? Did you find a better opportunity? Did you get sick of it? Was it something else? Or even if you're a student like I was less than a year ago and you're thinking about going to public accounting, what are your biggest concerns? If you have any other questions, definitely let me know. Guys, if you wouldn't mind liking this video, it would be greatly appreciated. And also consider subscribing. I am trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. And if I can get there, it would be greatly appreciated. Alrighty guys, so once again, my name is Will Khalili. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you stay tuned for the future. Alrighty, bye guys.